Three. Hello, my friends. Pay attention to this. It's very important. The number one threat to the Earth, like a direct end of the Earth event, besides nuclear war, could be caused by light pollution. No joke. You'll find out what I'm talking about now. Our guest is Doug Arion, who is an astronomer and a physicist and a protector and a defender of the dark. And all the time I've known Doug, which is some time now, I've known that he has been involved in the dark sky park protection in Maine. But now there's a movie out called Defending the Dark, Preserving the Night Sky in Maine. So we figured we would revisit this. And what I said at the beginning is not an exaggeration. It's true. One of the existential threats to the planet comes from an asteroid. If we don't blow it up ourselves, that's how we'll go out. And now, Doug, I'll let you talk a little bit. You can explain how light pollution could be responsible, in part, for an Earth-ending event. Now, I did give the worst case in the beginning to get your attention, but it's kind of true. Hi, Doug.
Hey, Bradley, how you doing? It's great to be back with you here and revisit this topic we talked about quite a few years ago. Sadly, it's not that much of an exaggeration to talk about what light does to us when we deal with it badly. And unfortunately, our civilization has done a lot of damage with it. So it's a big problem.
Well, explain how we might have an existential event exacerbated by light.
Sure. So all the life on this planet, and all the life, by the way, includes you and me and the other 8 billion people on the planet. You know, we all evolved to operate with night and day, right? We have light during the day, dark at night. And then artificial light has come up. I mean, it started out by having just, a fire when we were hunter-gatherers to oil lights and gas lights. And now we have all this stuff with electric lights. And those lights have been brighter and bluer and more pervasive than ever. So here's the thing. Okay, so we have light. What does that do to you? So because your body is used to it being dark at night, and now it's not dark at night, your body reacts to all sorts of things. So for example, a whole bunch of hormones that your body normally produces at night, you stop producing. That includes the hormones that help protect you from cancer. So we know that cancer rates, breast and prostate cancer in particular, hormonally driven cancers, are higher if you live in a light polluted area. So realize that almost everybody on the planet lives in a light polluted area. We don't even know how bad the problem's going to be for the next generation, because people of our generation, Bradley, you and I are about the same age. We grew up with a certain amount of light. The next generation of kids is growing up with more light. Their kids, what will be your grandkids, are growing up with even more light. So we expect that problem to get even worse. So that's one big problem right there. But okay. Go ahead.
Make sure you tell them about the asteroid. That's what I was getting at. You can't see the asteroids.
Oh yeah, we're getting to that too. Oh yeah. So from a purely astronomy perspective, one of the important instruments we have coming online this year at the Vera Rubin Observatory is this big telescope. One of its jobs is to go out and look for the asteroid that's going to hit us. It's going to image the entire sky every 3 nights. It's looking for things that move or change. And one of its big jobs is to find those asteroids heading in our direction. The problem is, while we have all these large constellations of internet satellites, for example, going up, which are another contributor to sky brightness, well, that sky brightness is going to be blinding those telescopes. So almost every image that the telescope takes is going to have these streaks of light going through it. And that may mean we miss the rock that's coming in our direction. So humans, we have an incredible way of doing things that sound positive that have big negative impacts once you think about it a little farther.
And people may say, well, what are the odds of an asteroid hitting us? Well, they hit us all the time. And as a matter of fact, well, not all the time in the big picture. I mean, there are craters from where they have hit, and you know what happened to the dinosaurs. But as I understand it, one is passing between the moon and the Earth, which is very close soon, or did?
Yeah, yeah. It's a moderate-sized rock. If it were to hit the Earth, it would, definitely ruin our day. It would be a big impact. Luckily, we're lucky that the Earth is a small thing. It's hard to hit, but there are rocks out there all the time. Every time you go out and you see a meteor shower, in August we have the famous Perseids, and you sit out there and watch those streaks. Those are little rocks hitting us, but they're luckily small enough that they get absorbed in the atmosphere. But a couple of years ago, there was a rock the size of a school bus that came in over Russia, over Chelyabinsk, Russia. And luckily, it came in at a shallow enough angle. It did kill a couple of people and break a lot of windows. The rock itself landed in a lake, conveniently. If it had come in at a different angle and hit the wrong place, that would have basically destroyed Lower Manhattan if it had come in at the wrong angle. So these things are out there.
Yep.
And we did not know that was coming.
So we might be able to divert it or do something to save the planet if we could see it, but the chances of seeing it are greatly reduced through light pollution. And it's not like reducing light pollution, folks, is going to cause you all kinds of hassle. It's not like some things. There are simple things we can do to reduce it, and we'll get to those later. All right, let's talk about the night sky, the dark park in Maine, and what people are doing to protect it, what you do to protect it.
So what's great, in 2019, the Washington Post wrote an article about the last dark skies in the country. And almost all that area is out west in high desert areas. And it's dark there because there are no people there, and there are no people there because it's not accessible. There was one area in the country that you can actually get to that's east of the Rockies and is still dark, and that's northern Maine. So it's the area basically from Moosehead Lake, the big lake in northern Maine, all the way up to Baxter State Park, that whole area in north central Maine. And it's within a few hour drive. I mean, from where you are in Boston, Bradley, you can be up there in a couple of hours. So it's an accessible area, and it's actually still dark. So I worked with the Appalachian Mountain Club to create an international dark sky park. So the AMC lands up there, 100,000 acres, has been protected to make sure that not only is it dark now, but it will stay dark. And there are a couple of other efforts that went on up there. Katahdin Woods and Waters, the national monument, they became a dark sky sanctuary to protect that area. So we're all working very hard to try to make sure there's still a place you can go where the sky is naturally dark, because 90% of the people in this country can't see stars.
Right.
So it's a very special place to protect. And by the way, it's a beautiful area. There's great hiking, paddling, fishing, biking, some really cool lodges to stay at, some cool restaurants. I mean, it's really a nice place to go. And then you have this wonderful night sky. And we've got telescopes and programs and all sorts of stuff up there as well. So you can really enjoy that sky.
Wow. So what are some things that the organizations do to keep it dark up there? You're lobbying, and are you doing stuff in D.C.? What are you folks doing? So
in order to get one of these designations, you have to do a number of things. The first is the place has to be dark to start with, and you can measure the sky brightness. The second thing is you have to make sure that any lights that are within that whole area are dark sky friendly. And these are the kinds of things you were mentioning before, the kinds of things you do to make your lighting good lighting. It's not that you don't have any light, but you have good lighting. So it's the right intensity and covered and so on. We'll talk about those details later. But the big thing is, on top of that, you have to put rules in place so that that darkness remains indefinitely. So you have zoning and lighting ordinances that say, okay, from now forward, we're going to maintain this. So just like when you create a park of any kind, you put some zoning in place that says, okay, now that this is a park with trees and ponds and things, we're not going to just build a building in it, right? You're not going to be allowed to do that to ruin the park. Here, the same thing. You can't add lights to it. You can't build new structures that are going to add light to it. So you do the things to keep it dark so it will stay that way indefinitely. So that's a very special part of getting these dark sky places.
All right, now we've gotten through the existential threat to Earth in the form of can't see the asteroid that's coming to get us. What are some more? And you started on the health problems with excessive light. What are some more ways that light harms us?
So humans directly, we've got the health effects. We have glare. So, having light in your eyes is bad, right? It's very hard for you to see when light's coming into your eyes. So a lot of the lights on highways, for example, actually make the roads less safe because that light is coming through your windshield. Think about when you're driving and you're in the rain, and it's horrible to have lights coming in onto your windshield, right? So those lights actually make it less safe. And very glary lights around buildings actually create shadows and actually increase crime rates. So that's a big issue. It's also an equity issue. It's very common for people in rich white neighborhoods to think that the quote bad neighborhoods, oh, if we just light them up, they'll be better, when actually that not only doesn't help, it actually then infringes on the lives of the people who are living there. Now that's bad enough, but here's the other thing. If you're really worried about your own human existence, we need food, and food starts with plants. And when you have light pollution, insects and birds can't find the plants to pollinate them. So pollination can go down as much as 60% if you've got light pollution around. And so if we don't correct that, we're not going to have the birds and insects to pollinate the flowers on corn and rice and wheat and all the other things that go into making our diet. Meanwhile, birds die badly. Over 1 billion birds die each year trying to migrate. They get lost in cities. And to make all that light that we don't use, we have to make electricity. So believe it or not, Americans spend $3 billion a year paying for electricity for light that actually does harm. So I mean, the wonderful thing about solving light pollution is you get all these benefits right away. You stop spending money, you're healthier, you make things better for all the critters and birds and life forms out there, and you reduce pollution, you save money. It's a win across the board.
Right. Most problems cost money to fix. This one would save money to fix.
Exactly. Isn't that cool?
That is cool. So what are some of the fun fixes? Well, I know one is to have streetlights, I guess fewer streetlights, but streetlights that have all the light reflected downward so you could use less light. And and if all of the millions of streetlights didn't shine up in the sky, that'd be a big deal, right?
That's one of the major areas to work with. Commercial lighting. Think of all the businesses you go by where their parking lot lights, pardon me, are on all night long. There's nobody in the store after 9 o'clock, and yet the parking lot lights are on there. That's a waste, and that's creating glare and uplight, and that's a problem. The lights on industrial buildings, businesses, your backyard lights at home, every one of these things contributes. And so the basic guidelines are very simple. You should have light that has a use. There should be a reason to light something up. It should only light what you need to light. If you're reading in a room, you don't turn the lights on all around the room. You turn the light on where you're reading. So it should be targeted. It should only be as bright as you need. It should only be on when you need it. So by all means, have a light by your door where you enter, but have it on motion detector. Somebody comes to your door, the light comes on. When they leave, the light goes off. Makes a lot of sense, right? And also, the light to have as little blue in it as possible. Those really bluish lights, I know everybody knows those, like those headlights that come up behind you, those really blue lights. The blue stuff is what makes it really, really nasty.
Yeah, I want to talk about those lights just a little bit. I hate them. I've always hated them. I've always hated the people who have them. It's rude. It's disgusting. It's unnecessary. It's showing off, I think. I'm surprised they're legal because they are a menace. There you go.
Yeah, well, I mean, I my truck that I drive here in rural New Hampshire, one of our concerns is moose. Moose are very hard to see at night, and we have them. And I would like to put, better headlights on my truck. You can't find a headlight for my truck that's bright that isn't blue. I mean, I've looked them up. You can find LEDs. They're all 5,000, 6,000 K. They're way, way, way too blue. And, we've got to get stuff, made that's actually good and healthy for us. And that isn't.
Yeah. And I think you used to come into the studio when I worked at WBZ, and we a couple times talked about the damage that light from your computer screen gives you, because that's really blue, right?
Yeah.
And what that can do to you. I forget what happens, but it's something very bad. Remind me.
So having blue rich light, like TV screens or computer screens or phone screens, especially at night before you're going to go to bed, really upsets your body clock. Your body clock is used to bright bluish light in the morning that wakes you up, right? We're used to this bright, sunny blue light during the day. That's good for keeping you awake. But at night, you're supposed to be winding down and changing your rhythm and going to sleep. So if you sit there and you're watching TV and you fall asleep in front of a TV, your body reacts as if it's supposed to still be awake. So you're not going to sleep well, for one thing. And then your body's not going to produce the hormones that are going to balance things out and help kill off cancer cells. And so besides general light pollution, like having a street light coming in your window, that's really bad. But you could be doing it to yourself just by having your TV on or a computer screen or your phone screen. Now, most of these devices now have an option to have like a night vision thing on it. You can go in there and it will make the screen yellowish. That's to take the blue light out at night, so it'll have less of an effect. So believe it or not, manufacturers have figured out that what we're talking about here, what you and I are talking about in terms of a general global issue, is important enough to build that feature into their computers, TVs, and phones. Now what we need to do is to do that to all the lighting, right? Get that blue stuff out of there, dim them out, have them on only when you need them. And we'd solve a lot of problems.
Yeah, I pay attention to that a lot, and I do have my screens on night mode or whatever you call it. However, when you bring up, say, a Google Chrome window, it's still super white, and those apps need to be yellow, more yellow than the glaring blue white. By the way, what's the hertz that's good when it comes to light, and what's bad? What is it, 2700, this 27K, 2700K?
Right. So you want the lowest, what we call the lowest color temperature. So when you buy a bulb, every bulb is labeled with a number. Very bright blue stuff is 4, 5, 6,000. So you'll see that quote daylight stuff, 4, 5, 6,000. But 2700, that's a good color. 2200 is even better. That's about as low as you can get right now. So 2200 to 2700. And by the way, street lights are now available in those colors. So we can do the street lights, you can do, your business lights, you can do your home lights. So every bulb in my house, which is now 8 years old, I did this when I built my house 8 years ago. All the bulbs in my house are 2700K LEDs. So very comfortable, almost no blue in them. And of course, the only lights outside are shining downward right at the entry doors. So you can get in and out of the house just fine, but then those lights go off. But 2700 is the max.
We mentioned the street lights and getting them to reflect downward. How do you do that? Do they make those already?
Yeah, they are. You have to specify them. You have to choose to get the right thing. But there are LED fixtures. They actually have a little shield on them that keeps glare from going sideways. And you can order them with 2200 or 2700K bulbs. So as a matter of fact, we did this at the Pinkham Notch Visitor Center here in New Hampshire. We replaced all the outside lighting last year. And all of it is 2700 or lower. All of it is shielded. And the facility is saving, are ready for the saving, over $2,000 a year in electric bills. Over $2,000 a year in electric bills is being saved. Wow. And the place is better lit, more comfortable, and all the critters come back. You're not scaring away, all those animals that you want to have in the forest. So It's a much safer, healthier thing, and you're saving money.
So I'm going to share this to all the cities and towns that I can. And the reason I'm doing that is because, hey, cities and towns, you could save a lot of money and have a better city and town at the same time, city or town at the same time. Wow. I need to come up there at night and see what that looks like. As you know, I come up to the White Mountains. I'm due for a trip up there, too.
Yeah, come on up. Come on up again.
Too hunkered down. Got to get out.
Yep.
Okay, now, there is actually a film. We haven't really talked about the film, Defending the Dark, Preserving the Night Sky in Maine. So there's enough interest in this that somebody spent the money and the time and the effort to make a film. Tell us about the film.
So, as I mentioned earlier, I've been very heavily involved in the dark sky work and doing all this work up in Maine. And there was a publication from the Appalachian Trail Conservancy about a woman named Tara Roberts-Zabriskie who does a terrific job on environmental documentaries. And I was like, oh, one of the important things is to get the word out about this work and the importance of it and dark skies and health and safety and so on. And I thank you, Bradley, for the chance to do that today. But one of the best ways to do that is to have something that goes out on media in general that people will see. So I approached Tara and I said, hey, I want to talk to you about this. And she said, oh, that sounds like a really great project. And we raised the money. The Maine Outdoor Heritage Fund put up some of it. So we got some foundation money to do that. And she created this absolutely fantastic documentary. And we've shown it at a bunch of film festivals. In fact, we had it at the Borrego Springs Film Festival in Southern California. I spoke there as part of it. And that's a dark sky town out in the California desert. But it's been shown on PBS. It's PBS nationally right now. So as a matter of fact, if you go to your PBS website, you can look up Defending the Dark. It's free streaming this month. So you can stream it, but it's also available on PBS stations all over the country. And if you don't see it on your station, go call them up and ask for it. It's a half hour. You're not going to devote days and days to it. It's a half-hour documentary that really talks about all these light issues and has beautiful imagery across Maine, the woods, the mountains, the skies there. She did a wonderful, wonderful job. It's a terrific film. So I'm very proud to be the one who launched it and made it happen. And it's great to sit back now and realize that hopefully thousands, if not millions of people will see this and go do something about it.
Defending the Dark, Preserving the Night Sky in Maine. You went down to Borrego Springs. Is that the Anza Borrego Desert?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That is if you're from up here, that is a weird area down there. Isn't that near the Salton Sea?
Yeah. It's very different. Very, very different. Yeah. And sadly, the Salton Sea is evaporating away. I mean, so much water has been taken out for irrigation that the salt level has gone up so high that the fish have died and the birds have left. So, that's the whole water problem in the Southwest. That's a whole other environmental problem.
That is weird.
It's a very different area.
At some point, this is off topic, but at some point, the Anza Borrego Desert, the Salton Sea, what people had little camps and cottages around the edge of it, and now they're abandoned. It's a ghost world down there with dead fish on the beach, abandoned muddy shores with these husks of former vacation homes down there. It is super weird. Now, where we can see this on PBS, Defending the Dark? Where do we get the free stream?
Just go to the PBS website, just pbs.org, and search on it for this. It's available as one of their programs to stream. I highly recommend it as something to watch.
What are some of the beautiful scenes that we see in there? You talked about a lot of natural beauty and some real good camera films, beauty. Where do we see?
Well, they actually have both air and drone and ground footage of the amazing lakes and mountains and forests of northern Maine. The expanse of that is kind of hard to imagine if you haven't been up there, because Maine's big. There's a large area up there that is this just incredible natural environment. A lot of scenes of Mount Katahdin, which is the northern terminus of the Appalachian Trail. It's over 5,000 feet high, this beautiful mountain up in central Maine. And then a lot of images of the night sky. It's hard for most people who just don't have that to appreciate what it's like to stand outside where you see nothing around you, but you're totally surrounded by this complete hemisphere of stars above you. It's really quite amazing.
It is, and you can't help but think back to folks in earlier civilizations when there were no lights, which wasn't that long ago in the big picture, and you really, it whacks you in the face how much the stars must have affected what they thought.
Absolutely.
And what they would think about as they hung around there, they went to bed at night and looked up and it's completely dark and there are stars and that's all they have to think about. They don't know what causes anything. They're scientifically pretty ignorant, and that's all you see is the stars, and you get to see how myths are formed. So that's a pretty big deal. Tara's must be Tara Roberts Zabriskie must be really good at this, and this is a big project. Can I ask how much money it costs to make a documentary like that?
This wasn't that expensive. She's very economical in doing this. I think it was $10,000 or $15,000
Really?
to do this,
Wow.
because it's all real time video that she and her husband Sean, they came up, they took this imagery, and she did interviews all over the state and with many of us who are involved with dark skies preservation, edited and put it together. It's terrific. She's really great. I highly recommend her. Her company name is really cute. It's Moosey Productions, Moosey Productions. Go look up
Wow.
Moosey Productions. And she's a one-woman tornado when it comes to doing these documentaries. She's really terrific.
So she has a drone and she operates that herself. She knows how to do that.
I don't know whether she or Sean did the drone work, but she does the filming, the interviews, the edits, the film editing, the music editing, all of that. To create. Yeah, she had done a great film about the AT in Tennessee. Was supported doing a lot of projects for the Appalachian Trail Conservancy. That's how I, became familiar with her. So she's got a long history of doing these very interesting natural world kinds of projects. She's great.
Wow. So in the background, you see the sign says Mountains of Stars. That is your organization. So, do you mind talking about that a little bit before we go?
No, Mountains of Stars is a program that I've been running. We're 12 years into it. Our goal is to elicit what we call environmental awareness from a cosmic perspective. So just as Bradley talked about, think about peoples of the past who looked up and saw stars around them. They had a very different picture of where they fit into the natural world. They were connected to the natural world. Well, that's something that we've lost. And we use astronomy and the really cool things up in space to get people to understand where we fit in and to therefore hopefully treat the environment better. So we've been doing this for a long time. We have a terrific website. It's mountainsofstars.org. You can find podcasts like this, videos, lots of information about dark skies and how you can do your lighting better and save money and make things healthier. That's on the site. Links to all sorts of books and articles. A lot of great material. So please look at mountainsofstars.org. It's all there for your use. That's why we put it up there. Hopefully people will use that information, and you can reach us through the site. So feel free to do that anytime. It's really great stuff.
Might as well give a plug to the Stellafane Amateur Telescope Competition that comes up in probably June, right, in Springfield, Vermont.
Yeah, it's actually going to be in August this year. It's always the summer new moon weekend. And it's actually our centenary. It's 100 years for Stellafane, and that's really where most of astronomy and telescopes in the country originated back in early 20th century. And coincidentally, I've convinced Tara to do a documentary about the 100 years of Stellafane. She's going to be doing a new documentary about Stellafane and astronomy in the United States. So we're excited for that.
She's very excited. So she's going to be up there this year.
Yeah, she will be. She will be.
And it's been a while since you've been on. I want to remind people that you make your own telescopes, you grind your own glass, you fabricate your own pieces, and you've attached now cameras so you can go and show real-time astronomical activity to people in classrooms and assisted living centers and anywhere people congregate. Have you been doing that? Are you still doing that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. To me, any way that I can engage people with the natural world is important. So as a matter of fact, next Tuesday, I'm doing programs for middle schools in Lynn, Massachusetts.
Oh, wow.
I've done programs for schools up in Craftsbury, Vermont, and Franklin, New Hampshire, and as you said, stream it to whomever can pick it up. But it's a wonderful technology to be able to connect people with the sky. It's great stuff. So yeah, we do that all the time.
Well, New Hampshire is a very cool state, and Doug Arion is one of the big reasons it's a cool state. You do so much. I don't know where you get the time. You make me feel like a lazy guy. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. You do great stuff, and I really appreciate our friendship over many years and the chance to collaborate on all this great material.
You know, folks, I should have said this in the beginning because some of you aren't here anymore because people have short attention spans. But if you did make it to this point, please share this, especially to your town fathers and mothers, the people in charge, to let them know this is a thing and a way to make your town a better town and a way for your town to save money. Deal with the light problem. It's a fixable, easily fixable thing to make the world and your town a little better place. Doug Arion, thank you very much as always.
Well, thanks so much, Bradley. I love chatting with you.
Yeah, and we got to make sure we don't wait so long. I think it was the winter. I got all hibernating. So I'll talk to you soon. Don't
Sounds
leave.
good. Looking forward to it.
I'm gonna end the broadcast, but don't leave.